You know, every year, millions of us bring a tree into our homes, dress it with lights, and treat it as though it has always been part of our celebrations. But the true story of the Christmas tree is far older and, frankly, far more surprising than most people realize. So in this explainer, we're going to trace its journey from ancient forests right into our modern living rooms. And what's remarkable is that the ideas that give the tree its meaning actually predate Christmas itself. We're talking thousands of years back, to a time when simply surviving the long, dark winter was the central concern. So this isn't just a holiday tradition, it's rooted in a deep human need for hope. And that leads us to the big question, doesn't it? How did this simple, humble evergreen become one of the most recognizable symbols on the planet? Well, to answer that, we need to travel back in time and look at why these trees were seen as so special in the first place. So, our story begins long before a single carol was ever sung, in the cold, stark winters of northern Europe. This is where ancient peoples first looked into the forest and saw something they believed was genuinely magical. Picture it for a moment. The world around you is grey, barren, and silent. Every other tree appears dead, its branches like skeleton arms against the sky. But in the midst of all that desolation, the evergreen stands firm, green, alive, and utterly unmoved by the season. To those early communities, this was extraordinary. The evergreen became a potent symbol that life endures, even in the harshest of conditions. This significance reached its height around the winter solstice, the longest, darkest night of the year. A time of fear, yes, but also the turning point. So what did people do? They brought evergreen branches into their homes. For the Celts, the Vikings, and the Germanic tribes, these weren't decorations. They were charms of protection, symbols of life, and promises that spring would return. Each green sprig was believed to keep away harmful spirits and illness at a time when both were genuine threats. Right, let's move forward to the Middle Ages and see how this tradition begins to shift. As Christianity spread across Europe, these ancient customs didn't vanish. Instead, they were absorbed into the winter celebrations. And this is something you see time and again in history. Old traditions rarely disappear, they simply take on new names. The deep-rooted use of winter greenery became part of Christmas observances, creating a blended set of beliefs and practices. Houses and churches were decorated with whatever greenery people could gather. Holly was still considered protective. Ivy symbolized faithfulness, and fir boughs remained the enduring sign of life. It wasn't a single tree yet, but it was definitely about bringing a promise of life indoors to push back the winter gloom. Now we reach a truly pivotal moment, the point where the tradition we recognize today finally emerges. We're talking 15th century Germany. Believe it or not, the very first Christmas trees had nothing to do with presents. They appeared in medieval religious plays performed at Christmas, specifically those telling the story of Adam and Eve. These paradise trees were fir trees hung with apples to represent the forbidden fruit. From there, the decorations evolved. Apples were joined by simple treats like gingerbread and nuts, and then came the real transformation: candles. Yes, open flames on a dry tree were as dangerous as you'd imagine, but the symbolism, a tree of life, glowing with light, was too powerful to ignore. So let's recap this journey. It begins thousands of years ago with ancient solstice rituals. Then we move into the Middle Ages with general winter greenery. Then we reach the first paradise trees in the 1500s Germany. And that leads to the final defining moment, 1848. This is when the Christmas tree went from a quiet regional custom to a global phenomenon. The Victorians, with their love of family celebration and festive sentiment, took this German tradition and propelled it onto the world stage, and it all hinged on a single image. In 1848, the Illustrated London News published an engraving of Queen Victoria, Prince Albert, and their children, gathered around their decorated Christmas tree. The public adored Victoria, and anything associated with the royal family became instantly fashionable. The impact was immediate. Before that picture, the Christmas tree was mostly known among German households. After it, the tree became the centerpiece of a proper British Christmas, and from there it spread rapidly across the globe. So, after such a long and winding journey, what does the tree represent for us now? If you connect all these threads, the answer becomes clear. It's remarkable that despite centuries of change, the core meaning hasn't shifted at all. The Christmas tree is still about bringing light into darkness, warmth into the coldest season, and life into a time that once symbolized fear and uncertainty. It stands for family, togetherness, and the enduring promise that winter will always give way to spring. What began as a ritual to ward off the gloom of midwinter has become a joyful celebration centered around a simple evergreen tree. So when you look at your Christmas tree this year, perhaps you'll see more than lights and decorations. Perhaps you'll see thousands of years of human resilience, hope, and tradition woven into its branches. Which really leaves us with one final thought. After its extraordinary journey through history, what does this symbol of light and life mean to you?